Hey, gun people! Wanted to talk about this video here on drivers arrested while stoned while they're cold sober. So let's take a look at this little what they're
Georgia now has more than 250 officers with special drug recognition expert training, but 11 Alive Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe discovered some drivers are getting arrested for driving stoned, even when their drug test came back clean.
Okay, so when she's talking about drug recognition expert, it's called a DRE. I was a certified DRE. You go through, I forgot how many, 2 or 3 weeks of training. I think it's 80, maybe 120. I don't remember the number of hours, but basically you learn about blood pressures, system responses, sympathetic nervous system, auditory, automatic system. I mean, it was kind of a medical training on the physiology reactions of the body to certain drugs and what's called polydrugs, one or more drug use. So when these guys are going through this DRE program, when you leave there, you recognize so many things so quickly when you view somebody, because you go out, and I did a video of this, I think, on my crazy cop story or something, where we would actually pull up to a drug infested area in a van and just snag people off the street and say, hey, how you doing, can we talk to you? It's called a consensual encounter. We wouldn't detain them. We would just say, hey, we're in training for drug recognition, you're not going to be arrested, we're cops, we'd just like to know if you'd cooperate, go along with a couple tests, then we'll let you go. And 90% of the people said, yeah, no problem. And we would do the test, and we would tell them what they were on, and then we would ask them, and they'd say, yeah, you're right. Or they would tell us what they were on, we'd do it and confirm through the test that what they told us is probably true. So when you get out of drug recognition DRE training, you're pretty good at noticing the eyes, glassy, whether they have smooth tracking, lack of smooth pursuit, jerkiness, their internal clock, their Romberg, internal estimation of time and speed, whether they have speed or slowing in time. So you do all these tests, but there's a certain number of tests that you have to do, and it's kind of a long form. A lot of people didn't like to do it because it was a pain in the butt. Because not only after you do this test here, we have to go back to what's called a dark room, or go in a room that's completely dark for 30 seconds, then look at their pupils in a completely dark environment. If pupils are pinpointed in a total dark environment, you have drugs on board. Something's going on. Pupils should automatically dilate when it's dark to let more light in, and they should get bigger. And when they don't dilate and let light in, there's something going on in the system. So we're going to go through all the tests here. Let me get the thing playing here.
Okay. One of the things that we do is we'll ask people to do this thing, okay?
Caitlin Ebner crossed the line and got pulled over on her way home from work.
Blow real hard, blow real ask you stuff.
It's a bald cop. He's going to beat her up. Why are you always picking out bald cops?
No, she wasn't drinking. All tests for alcohol came up empty.
What time smoke marijuana?
Oh, I don't do that. I can give you drug test right now.
You don't smoke marijuana? Well, you're showing me indicators you haven't smoked marijuana, okay?
I didn't.
You're showing me indicators that you have. So he's looked at her eyes, and now there's a lot of things that go on with the body to where indicators, this isn't 100% accurate. It's pretty damn accurate. And if you don't have an overzealous cop out there just trying to arrest people for anything, I mean, the spirit and intent of the law for drunk driving or drug driving is impairment. If you can't tell that they're impaired before you do any of these tests, then you probably shouldn't be doing the test. And just because they went over the center line is not impairment. I determine impairment, and you should determine impairment, when you contact a person and you get things like speech, like their ability to pay attention, over anxiousness, total lethargic. I've got to get other indicators that this person is on the influence. I can't just say, you went over the center line, so now I'm going to do what? And that's what this guy is doing. And I think it's wrong, and it's bullshit. And he's abusing the system, and it's like I say, with all tools that cops get, it's on a pendulum. They give cops these new tools, they're fancy, they're nice, then you get bad cops that overuse it, abuse it, you get systems that encourage it, they give awards, they promote people for doing more, then they're given incentive to abuse it. Meanwhile, you have a lot of citizens that become victims, but nobody cares, and then the courts finally have enough when it gets too bad, and they either take it away or they pull in the reins and pull back the power from law enforcement. Every use of force item, everything cops do, it always goes through the same method. And that's what this DRE is going through now. It started out good. It got a lot of guys off the road. Now it's so incentivized that you get promotions, you get extra incentive, you get pay increases, you get extra duty, you get overtime. So there's so many incentives. Now people are, they've morphed it into what it's not supposed to be, and they just want to get arrest and stats, just like tickets.
I didn't realize that you could get arrested for something that you didn't do until it happened to me.
Really? You didn't realize you get arrested for something you didn't do? Where the hell have you been living? Freaking under the bus?
No, ma'am, not possession unless I find it in your car. I believe that you're impaired by the marijuana you smoked.
Before you felt those handcuffs closing over your wrist, did you understand just how serious this was?
I didn't understand. As soon as I took that breathalyzer, I thought I was going home.
Your son's being taken into custody, okay, for DUI drugs.
This is pretty bad. When you get arrested, that goes in your arrest record. It stays for life. I mean, I still have an arrest record when me and Pat were freaking 16 or 17 years old because some cop wanted to be a tough guy and arrest a couple kids for bullshit. And that arrest record is still on my record. And, I mean, getting arrested is no joke because it really affects a lot of things and you have to explain it. And nobody really ever believes your explanation because they think you're just lying, because most people do lie. But anyway, this is sad that this is going on.
Waitress spent the night in jail and had her alcohol server's permit revoked because of the DUI arrest. After 4 months, prosecutors dismissed all charges.
This is where somebody goes, this is against the Constitution. You're innocent until proven guilty. Look, our Constitution's been crumbled up and tossed in a trash can a long time ago. Nobody's innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, IRS can take your home and you can't prove yourself innocent and they can't prove you guilty, but they'll still take your damn home. They'll take your bank accounts. Government's always been taking things and removing things before you're found guilty. When you get a DUI, you're not found guilty. You lose your license. You can't drive. I mean, there's always, government is just overreaching on everything, and it's all coming down to money, liberalism, government growth, and we have to justify more government. And then when we get more government, we have to have government do things to justify so we can keep them and get more government. And you got damn liberals running around saying more government's better. We need more rules, regulations, and more government so we can be free because you're a freaking idiot.
Because her blood test came back completely clean. You had to spend months and thousands of dollars proving your innocence.
I did.
When's the last time you smoked weed?
Oh, shit. Another bald guy. You're going to notice this is the same guy on all these because he's had several come back negative. But he's also, he's gotten several awards. He's gotten pink ribbons and pink things to hang on his wall because he's the #1 DRE most arrest. If I arrest everybody I contact, the odds are half of them's probably going to be under influence. Hell, I can get an award too.
The same thing happened to this college student 2 weeks earlier on Good Friday.
Well, I believe you have, okay, I need to borrow your arm real quick, okay? I believe that's why you were failing to maintain your lane and driving halfway going around when I was behind you. Give me just 1 second. Give me just 1 second. That's correct.
I didn't understand. I'm like, why are you arresting me? Like, what did I do?
I'm actually impressed that this girl didn't play the race card, which is pretty cool. You don't see that too often. I think it's bullshit she got arrested, but it's not because she was black, because he just arrested a white guy before, but Black Lives Matter will be here. He's picking on a poor black woman. Shut up.
I'm like, what?
You arrested me because you think I smoke marijuana?
I believe you're impaired by cannabis, yes ma'am.
Sir, I don't smoke weed. Is there a way to test me right now?
Princess Umbamaro.
See, I agree with her. If you can't test somebody immediately and tell, they shouldn't be going to jail. Now, as a DRE, I took a lot of people to jail, and I couldn't do a test immediately, but I did take a urine or blood test after I took the breath test, and the breath test came back negative because I was looking at drugs that the breath test doesn't show up. The breath test will only pick up alcohol. In order to get other drugs in your system, you need urine or blood. And a lot of people don't want to do it, or they think it's an evasion, or, there's all kind of issues in here. But this guy's just out here arresting everybody he meets, thinking he's getting all these stats and being the big dog in the little pond. The police department, he goes back and gets his awards and thinking, I'm a tough guy. And he's bald. He probably beats people up for no reason.
Was also jailed and thought the DUI drug charges
I know
were half of
people would be
2016. So the blood test comes back they tossed the case.
I remember my lawyer trying to talk about a deal. And I was like, what? I'm not taking a deal. I didn't do anything. I want, like, my life back. Can you reverse time?
Can you stick your tongue out real big?
Months later, it happened a third time to this Auburn student.
You're giving me indicators that you have consumed marijuana. You can question the rest of the deal out, okay?
The prosecutor filed this dismissal of the student.
Okay, remember, cops don't charge. We recommend charges based on probable cause. The DA reviews and he decides what to charge. And what he uses to decide what to charge is whether I know the guy, whether he contributed to my campaign, whether he's on the same political party as me. What he should be using is, in the spirit of the law, do I have enough to get a conviction and waste taxpayer money? Is this person really guilty? And is it worth the money that it's going to take to prosecute him for what I get in return? But that's not always what it is. So when the DAs are dismissing these charges, they're not dismissing it because they care about the good citizen that pays taxes and paying their salary. They're dismissing it because they know they're going to have a hard time winning when they come back negative. But you know what? They still don't admit that they're wrong, and they're saying that just because the test comes back negative doesn't mean it's not in your system and you didn't do it. Just amazing.
DUI drug charge 5 months later. Defendant performed well on field sobriety evaluations, and blood and urine were negative. 3 DUI drug arrests, 3 tox screens negative for marijuana. 1 police officer. Cobb County's T.T. Carroll. Documents show Carroll is one of the highest rated and best.
Ooh, highest rated and best DUI officers. Ooh, that's really good. Yeah, he's arresting freaking innocent people, you dummies.
On Cobb County's legendary DUI task force.
Ooh, legendary. Ooh, it's legendary. Ooh, what does that mean? That means it's a legend.
Well, you're showing me numerous indicators.
He's a certified drug recognition expert.
Well, I don't believe you on the truth, okay? I don't believe because I'm seeing some involuntary indicators that you consume marijuana.
One of 250 Georgia officers who've gone through this intensive month-long training. A drug recognition evaluation involves a dozen observations that allow officers not only to pronounce a driver is on drugs, but to identify which of 7 types.
Okay, so this is called a pupillometer right here. And what a pupillometer is you're looking at the pupil and you're comparing the size of this pupil to the size of the dots on the pupillometer. And so there's a normal range and there's a non-normal. I want to say between 2.5 and 3.5 or something might be normal, but that's normal depending on the conditions. In a dark room, normal may be 4 or 5 because the body's adjusting the pupil and allowing it to grow and get bigger to get more light because it's dark. If you're out in the sun, normal may be down to 1.5 because it's bright light. So when you do this test, you have to do it in the light and in the dark. So, but again, this is very, very time consuming. It's a methodical process. It goes through a checklist. There's eyes, there's respiration, there's blood pressure, there's heart rate, there's internal clock. There's all kind of factors. And then afterwards, the DRE makes an opinion, and it's considered an expert opinion because he's had more training than normal people do. And it's considered an expert opinion that I think this person is under the influence of X, Y, and Z. And that opinion is based on these facts that he gets from doing all these tests.
Types of drugs are in their system.
Marijuana, how does somebody just say marijuana?
There are involuntary responses of the body that we can observe that would suggest impairment of marijuana.
He did these techniques that he was taught, and he determined you were on something you weren't on.
Yeah, unfortunate for me.
Because he's ingesting marijuana. That's what my training suggests.
Officer Carroll relies on his drug recognition expert training, but in these 3 dismissed cases, he didn't do the full DRE evaluation after the arrest. The standard protocol requires all 12.
See, and that there again, he's arrested him, he gets the arrest, he gets the stat, and then he's not doing a complete test. So he's ruining the standard, he's abusing the system, he's violating the law because he's arresting people that shouldn't be arrested, and he's absolutely getting zero accountability. Not only does he have no accountability for his errors, he's actually getting praise for his high numbers. Government will always protect government, and they will always find work or create work to justify more government. I just don't get how people can't see it.
Complete, yet any police officer can make a DUI drug arrest on fewer observations.
If I say what's my fault, and I believe that based on my training, that's why I put the handcuffs on. Several indicators.
Okay, so when I do a drug test, I'll be free to go, correct?
You're going to jail now. Okay, I don't have a magical drug test that I can give you.
Yeah, I don't have a magical drug test I can give you, but I can lock your ass up, take away your freedoms, tow your car, give you an arrest record for life, but I don't have a magical test. This is freaking outrageous. Ah.
But he just did the magic drug test that resulted in your arrest.
They're ruining innocent people's lives.
Caitlin Ebner filed an internal affairs complaint against Officer Carroll. Cobb County investigators exonerated the officer and doubted Caitlin's innocence, insisting the marijuana could have already metabolized out of the blood.
They said, yeah,
they arrest her. They say she's under the influence. Her test comes back. She files a complaint, and the complaint determines that she's probably still lying and it could have been in her system and metabolized. Ain't this freaking freedom grand? And people wonder why people are against cops and government and are realizing that cops are not your friends. They're government thugs and enforcers.
see this happen all the time. The test results come back wrong.
So the test results were wrong.
Yeah, that's what they said. That the test results were wrong, and also if I had a urine test, that it would have came back positive for drugs.
But Caitlin got her own urine test the same week as her arrest. The urine test was also negative for...
Smart girl. Went and got her own damn test right afterwards. Good move. Way to cover your butt.
Marijuana or other drugs. This training is so powerful that they believe they can detect drugs that a blood test will not detect.
It's extremely surprising. That's my life that they're playing with.
Last week, Cobb County's DUI task force was awarded a trophy by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving. This is like what's that one of People Against Domestic Violence. These organizations start out as a good thing to bring awareness. Then they grow, they get money, they get power, they abuse that power, and the next thing you know, they create more loss of freedoms and more infringement of rights than any other law, and they're not even a legislative branch, but they can force through awards, through money, through negative and positive publicity on these organizations. And MAD is like, you do not want MAD on your bad side as a police department, because they will make your life miserable. So what do? You run out and you arrest every damn body you can. You get your numbers up, and then MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, gives you an award that you run around and say, hey, look how good we are. We got awards. Wow.
1,696 DUIs. And Officer Carroll was given a silver medal for 90 DUI arrests.
A silver medal for arresting innocent people. Shit. Ain't that freaking great?
2016, he put dozens of actual convicted drunk drivers behind bars last year. But if you got 3 people who were innocent behind bars having to defend themselves, how does that balance out for you?
It's something I have to carry for the rest of my life.
Now, commanders wouldn't let Officer Carroll talk with us, but the department stands behind these arrests, and also the department says that the GDI Crime Lab often returns results as negative even when there is a trace amount of marijuana in the blood.
Unbelievable. So now the government, not only are you lying and it could have been metabolized out of your system, now the people testing the drugs sometimes don't give us the right information. Guess who testifies as an expert for the prosecution during the trial when they're trying to prosecute you? The people that are doing the freaking tests that they're saying don't tell them what the right results are. Are you freaking kidding? How can a defense attorney not be all over this? Wow, this is sad. Anyway, I thought I'd share this. I'll put a link to the original video. It's not much longer, but anyway, we'll end that there, and hopefully that helps.